In the annals of World War II, there are tales of heroism, sacrifice, and unimaginable horror. But few stories are as chilling and overlooked as the events that unfolded on Ramree Island in early 1945. This is the story of one of the most terrifying episodes of the war. A tale that blurs the line between man and nature, between soldier and prey. Ramree Island, a 150 square mile patch of land off the coast of Burma, now known as Myanmar. Its lush mangrove swamps and dense jungles might seem like paradise, but in January 1945, it became hell on earth. To understand the significance of Ramree, we need to step back and look at the larger picture of the Burma Campaign. By 1945, the tide of war in the Pacific had turned against Japan. The Allies were pushing to reclaim Burma, which had fallen to the Japanese in 1942. Burma was crucial. Its loss had cut the Burma Road, a vital supply line to China. Retaking it would allow the Allies to re-establish this lifeline and potentially launch further operations against Japan. On January 21, 1945, Operation Matador was launched. The 26th Indian Infantry Division, supported by the Royal Marines and RAF, began their assault on Ramree. The attack began with a naval bombardment, followed by amphibious landings on January 26th. The Japanese defenders, numbering around 1,000 men under Colonel Kanichi Nagasawa, were outnumbered but determined to hold their ground. For 2 weeks, fierce fighting raged across the island. The Allied forces pushed southward, slowly but surely cornering the Japanese defenders. By February 7th, the situation for the Japanese had become desperate. But Colonel Nagasawa had other plans. Rather than capitulate, he made a decision that would lead to one of the war's most horrifying episodes. On the night of February 7th, Nagasawa ordered his remaining forces, about 900 men, to abandon their positions and attempt a desperate breakout. Their escape route: a treacherous 10-mile stretch of mangrove swamp. As night fell, the Japanese soldiers slipped into the murky waters of the swamp. What they didn't know was that they were entering the domain of Ramree Island's most fearsome inhabitants. Saltwater crocodiles, hundreds of them, some reaching lengths of 20 feet or more, and they were hungry. The saltwater crocodile is one of the largest and most aggressive crocodile species. They're known to attack and eat anything that enters their territory, including humans. The swamps of Ramree were perfect habitat for these apex predators. The Allied forces, positioned along the edge of the swamp, could only listen in horror as nature unleashed its fury on the trapped Japanese soldiers.
The screaming, it was unlike anything I'd ever heard. It went on for hours, all through the night. We could hear the thrashing in the water, the desperate cries for help. It was a scene straight out of Dante's Inferno.
But the crocodiles weren't the only danger. The swamp itself was a death trap. Mangrove swamps are incredibly hostile environments. The water is brackish, undrinkable. The mud can be like quicksand in places. And then there's the wildlife. Venomous scorpions, snakes like the king cobra, and swarms of malarial mosquitoes. The oppressive heat and lack of fresh water quickly led to dehydration and exhaustion among the Japanese soldiers. Many who escaped the jaws of the crocodiles found themselves succumbing to the swamp itself. The Allied forces made several attempts to end the slaughter, broadcasting messages urging the Japanese to surrender. When the sun rose on February 8th, the true extent of the horror became clear. Of the 900 Japanese soldiers who entered the swamp, only 20 were found alive and taken prisoner. Another 460 managed to escape the swamp and rejoin Japanese forces elsewhere on the island. The rest, approximately 400 men, had vanished into the murky depths. The Ramree Island incident would later be described by the Guinness Book of World Records as the greatest disaster suffered from animals in recorded history. But some historians dispute this claim, arguing that the number of crocodile-related deaths may have been exaggerated. The exact number of soldiers killed by crocodiles remains a subject of debate. Some accounts, like that of naturalist Bruce Stanley Wright, claim that only 20 survivors were found out of 1,000 men. Records show that about 900 Japanese soldiers entered the swamp, and around 480 survived in total. While still a significant loss of life, it's less than earlier accounts suggested.
You know, we were soldiers. We'd seen combat, death. But this was different. It wasn't man against man anymore. It was man against nature, and nature won. I'll never forget those sounds, those screams in the night.
This doesn't diminish the horror of what happened, but it's important to strive for historical accuracy. Regardless of the exact numbers, the Ramree Island Massacre stands as a grim reminder of the horrors of war and the unforgiving power of nature. It's a story that defies belief, yet one that actually happened. Today, Ramree Island is peaceful once more. Its mangrove swamps still teem with life, including the descendants of those ancient predators. But beneath the tranquil surface lies the memory of that terrible night in 1945, a night when the thin veneer of civilization was stripped away and men found themselves at the mercy of nature's most primal forces.